All right, so this will be an existing texture. Download the texture. It's I'm going to be using the Indiana Jones. Okay, so there's two ways. One is an existing texture, and then we'll do another one where we'll create the texture. At least prepare it for a custom texture. Okay, so let's bring that first. So I'm going to go with the tilde right here, but let me turn on my screencast so that you could see the keys that I'm pressing. Okay, so tilde, we're going to go to the front. The reason why front is that we want to bring in that texture while it's flat. Okay, so I'm going to go to add image reference. Okay, and we're going to go to downloads right here because I remember putting it there. Okay, and there it is. So that's the texture we're going to use for the cube. Okay, so what we need to do now is simply model this cube so that it conforms to the dimension of the texture. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the front right here. I'm going to select the cube. I'm going to turn on X-ray so we could see through it. Okay, there are several ways to do this. You can scale this in object mode, or you can also manipulate it in edit mode. Okay, we'll do the object mode first. So I will use exclusively right here the scale tool. All right, so I'm going to press G, which is keyboard shortcut for moving. Okay, that means when I click and let go, my scale tool will be back. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in here. So we want this to be the same dimension as our texture. So I'm going to scale it like so. Press G to move it, and then just kind of eyeball, kind of put it right here so we can scale it a little bit like so, and then a little bit here. So we're looking at the side kind of matching. All right, so maybe just a little bit, like one click right there. All right, well, maybe that's too much. Yeah, so hopefully your OCD is not as bad as mine, so otherwise we'll be here all night. Okay, so at least now we know the front, okay, is matching that, right? But of course, obviously, right here we have a problem. The side is kind of chunky, right? It's not happening. So what we need to do is we can select the reference right here, and then we can duplicate it and roll it on the side, right? So I'm going to go to the top, tilde, top. There is our front, right? So I want to duplicate this, so I'm going to do Shift D, okay? And then I'm going to press R to rotate it, and I'm going to hold down Control. That means I can rotate that, and it snaps to 5-degree increments, so I know for sure that it's going to be flat along the Y-axis. As you can see, we have it on the front, we have it on the side. So now if we go tilde, side, we could see our cube, okay? And we can now change the thickness of this so it matches the side of the texture. All right, let me zoom in. Kind of hard to see there, but let's let me see. Edit mode, there it is. Okay, so you can kind of see it in edit mode, and I could go to X-ray right here. Since I have X-ray, I can select the bottom points right there. Go to my move tool right here, and then just kind of make sure that I'm lined up right there, the bottom. Okay, I'm also going to select all these 4 points. You can see since I have X-ray on, okay, that means I select all 4 points and not just the one at the front. Okay, I'm just gonna slide that over precisely. Okay, I'll do the exact same thing right here, and I think that's the cutoff on the graphic right there. All right, so now if we go to if we hide both empties, which are our reference, okay, and I go here to object mode, let's hide both empties. So now our cube matches the packaging. All right, so that's all that modeling did. Okay, so at this point we want to save our file in case you crashed. So I'm going to go to File, Save As. So this is where you get your blend file, right? That you need to submit. So we can call this one PC Game Box Indie. Okay, so being specific, and then you can rename it based on what you need to submit for your homework. So I'm just going to dump this on the desktop so I can easily find it later and delete it because it's just for sample. Okay, so now our game box is fully modeled. I'm going to go turn off X-ray. There it is. Okay, so right now Blender still thinks this thing is a cube, and we'll see that once we start doing the UV mapping. Okay, so first thing is, let's give this a shading like what we did before. Okay, I'm going to go to Shading tab. When you go to Shading, you'll see your shader right here, which is a replica of the shader right here. So this is the exact same thing, except we get to connect several other things in here. Okay, so you can see, same exact options. Okay, so if I change this to green, blue, whatever, it won't really matter because we're going to put the textures like adding a wallpaper, right? However, making it metallic and changing the roughness does matter, right? So this is going to be a game box. It's a cardboard. So we want to increase the roughness here. Okay, almost no shininess on this. So I'm going to go 0.9 on this one, okay, or 0.8. So kind of rough. Okay, I'm also on my look dev or preview so I could see the color changes or texture that I put in here without having to worry about the back being too dark and whatnot. So it just kind of gives you a preview. The fourth sphere gives you what you see is what you get, right? You see the difference here? Since the light is not covered in the back, so you can see it's dark. But if you look on preview, it's lit regardless. So you could easily preview your work without worrying about it not showing properly, okay? Now, how do we apply the texture? So that's pretty easy. We can go to where the texture was downloaded, which is on downloads, and we're simply going to click and drag it. So game box, there it is. I'm just going to drag it in here. Once I drag it in there, it's on an image texture node. It's already loaded in because I drag it from the location. I'm just going to now grab the node for the color and drag it to the base color, simply meaning overwrite the color with this photo. And as you can see, it is now applied to the cube, except we're not too happy with the cube because it doesn't look like it's properly textured. As you can see, Blender doesn't know that the layout of the texture, it doesn't know how you want to put it in there. So now the next part of this one, and we're done with the texture for now, we need to go to the UV editing, basically telling Blender, how do you want that photo to be positioned in this box, okay? So let's go to UV editing. So it's another tab right here, okay? So now the UV edit, I'm gonna go here and go to preview so we could see it. So we could see the layout of the texture and the cube as well. So I'm gonna select all the faces here. I'm gonna go to edit mode, faces, select everything. So I can press A right here to select. And as you can see, Blender still thinks it's a cube. Do you see the cube? It's kind of like papercraft, right? So it doesn't know that the dimension changed because it started as a cube. So what we need to do is apply the movement and the scaling that we did. So that then Blender would think that this is now what the object looks like, okay? So to do that, you need to go to object mode. The object is selected, then you go to object, apply. We did movement, right? We moved the point, so that's location, and scale. We didn't do any rotation, so I can click apply location and scale right here, or location and scale right here. Or I can just do all transform, that it will reset all location, rotation, and scale. So I'm just going to do all transform even though we didn't do any rotation, just to make sure that everything is resetted, okay? So by doing that, now Blender already resetted this thing. This thing still looks like a cube right here, but we're about to do our UV map on this one, okay? So one way to do it is to select all the sides, okay? And then press U to unwrap. Keyboard shortcut is U, okay? Let me make sure my screencast is working properly. There we go, okay? So press U, okay? And one way to do it is Smart UV Project, okay? So basically Smart UV is smart guessing, okay? So unwrap this, very similar to the photo. So if I click on Smart UV Project, it will ask a bunch of stuff, but don't worry about it. Okay. Oh, click undo. Okay. What matters right here is the island margin. Island margin simply means there is no, well, when it's 0, there is no distance between the connection of the sides. So if I click just one value right here, one right on that chevron, it's 0.01, okay? So when I click unwrap right now, as you can see, here we go, it opened that cube and divided it into sections, which is the front, side, and the top and bottom, with its own dimension, okay? With that 0.01 island margin, you can see there's a separation right there, okay? So what we want to do at this point is basically match all the textures right here that goes along to that one, right? And in order to see that which one we're clicking, we need to make sure that we are aware the positioning of this cube. So if I hit tilde, go to front, and selected this face, and that means that's the front right there, okay? However, all the other options disappeared, and when we click them, they appear. So sometimes that can be a little jarring, like you don't see it. So what we need to do is click this icon right here. This is the UV sync selection. So it's this like slanted arrow right here. So if I click that, it will always show even though they're not selected, okay? And when you're done, you simply turn that off, okay? So for now, we need it. So we know for a fact that this is the front. Obviously, this is the back because it's the same side. We're not sure which one is front or left right here, right? So if I go on the right, so right is this side, and that's left right there. So let's take a look at the, select the top. So the top is that one, and then the bottom is that one, okay? And this is actually pretty simple to understand at this point. So let me go to front again. I'm going to select the front face, okay? And as you can see here, it looks like it's upside down, okay? So what we can do is we can rotate the entire thing right here, or we can just rotate this. It doesn't matter, okay? So this is one way of doing it. This is the Smart UV Project. So if I press G right now and move this, okay? Here we go. All right, so you can see it's aligning it. It's just the wrong rotation right there. So if I go R for rotation, then 180, it flips it over, okay? If I zoom in here and use my scale tool, if I press S to scale it, press G, just to kind of eyeball where that, I might need to scale it a little bit longer, bigger, but I think that's pretty good right there, okay? So now we select the right side. So right side, Blender says this is your right side, so this is the right side of the box right here. I press G to move this one. Get close. Let's take a look here. All right, no, yeah, it's upside down also, so I should have rotated the whole thing, but R180, it's quick enough to correct that. Press S to scale. Okay, and so on and so forth. Okay, so if I select the top, that is the top right there. Press G. If I rotate this, R 90 degrees. Okay, and it looks like it's reversed, so we can do negative 90 before, so we can go R negative 90. Oh no, R negative 90 again. There we go. Okay, then I can just scale it. Press G right there. Might need to make it a little bit longer, but there it is. Okay, so you do this until the entire thing is pretty much done. Okay, so another way to do is to not mess with this like so. Okay, but to project using just the projection of the camera. Okay, so I'm gonna press A to select everything again. I'm gonna press U to unwrap. Okay, and then we're just gonna go cube projection right here. Okay, so we're back to this mess again. Okay, so I'm gonna press tilde right here and then front. Okay, so what we want to do here is we're gonna go one at a time. Okay, so I'm gonna turn off my sync. I'm just going to select the front, okay? And then instead of Smart UV Project, we're going to project this one side at a time. So if I press U to unwrap, I'm just going to go project from view. Basically, project it based on the shape of the front, okay? And as you can see, there it is. So if I go here, press G, and then move it over here. Press S to scale. Okay, and then let's be precise here. So press G. All right, I think that's good enough. Okay, so if I go here to the top, so if I go to the top, tilde top, select the top portion right here. And then I press U, project from view. There it is right there. So I press G, just put that in there. So totally up to you at this point, but in my opinion, this is much faster than the Smart UV Project. And you're only dealing with one side at a time, so it's much cleaner, okay? Less kind of confusion, but you know, who we kidding? You'll get used to this. It won't matter. So I'm just going to be precise right there. I mean, you won't be confused after a few classes that you do this. It's just kind of confusing right now because it's the first time you're seeing it. Okay, so we'll go here to the side. So I'm going to go side, so which is the right side. Press U to unwrap, project from view. There it is. It's already kind of positioned already. Okay, press S to make that almost the same size. Okay, you might need to zoom in and be perfectly aligned. Okay, right there. Probably press S a little bit on the Y to make it shorter. Okay, press. There we go. Good enough. Okay. I'm going to go back here. Press back. Press U. Project from view. G. Scale it, then move it. And what else? I think shrink it a little bit. The bottom. Okay, so that would be tilde, bottom. U, project from view. G to grab it. S to scale it. Reposition and manipulate it along the scaling right there to match the object. I'm holding down Shift when I'm scaling so that I can precisely scale it in small increments. We're almost done. What else? Oh, this one. Okay, so the left side. Tilde, left, select it. Press U, project from view. And there's that. Press G over here. Scale that. Press S to scale. Eyeball it. Get it as close. Let me make sure that I could see top and bottom. All right, good enough right there. And now let's take a look at let's go back to layout and then preview. And there's kind of our game box. And of course, if you messed up like I did, you see some white lines here because I didn't scale it properly, but there it is. That's basic texturing right there, okay? So this is coming from the texture that was already available, right? What if you want to make your own texture? Okay, so how do we do that? So that's actually quite simple. The hard part is making the texture, okay? So if I go here, and let's go to, so you don't get confused, we're gonna make it look like it's, there's no texture, right? So I'm gonna press A to select all the faces, okay? And actually at this point, we can just export this, okay? And then open this up and there's this layout right here. So if I go here, go to UV and export UV layout, Okay, and it's asking what do you want to name it. So I'm going to call it UV Game Box Indie. PNG is fine. I'm going to click, and the size is 2000 by 2000. So that's good resolution. It will not pixelate. However, when it comes to, let's say, if you're working with video games, there is a set rule on how big texture should be. Okay, the producer will tell you, the director will tell you, you can only make 512 by 512. So that's limited to whatever the game is targeting. Okay, or whatever the project is targeting. 2000 by 2000 is pretty big, but we'll just use it. Okay, for the sake of sample. Okay, so I'm going to click Export UV Layout right here. Okay, what's going to happen is that there will be a file called on the desktop Game Box Indie UV. Okay, so I can now run Photoshop here. You can use GIMP. You can use any program you want. So I'm going to open Photoshop real quick. All right, and then we're going to open that file. Go to File, Open. And there it is, UV Game Box Indie PNG. And as you can see, there's the layout. Okay, so now let's do this very crudely. Oh, Photoshop is like, you have Blender open, you got Photoshop open. All right, but you'll probably understand what we're doing here. So if I actually create the front graphic, the side and the back, top and bottom, and then I bring this over, okay, let's make this one like a masterpiece. Martin, you should really like this one. Yeah, okay, so this is the front. Where's my, yeah, that's the front, okay. This is the back, agree? That's the top. That's the bottom. This is the right side. And that's the left side. Okay, so let's say that's our PC game box. Awesome. I'm gonna go to File, Save As. Okay, we're gonna change. We're gonna keep it as a PNG, and then we're gonna call this one Gary's Best Cover. Oh yeah. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna put it on the desktop also. Click Save. Okay. Click OK. We no longer need Photoshop at this point. We go back to Blender. Okay, and then we're gonna be using this brand new texture, right? So we're just going to simply go back to our UV shading right here, okay? So instead of using Indiana Jones, we're using our desktop. Let's see if I can find that. iCloud, desktop. Problem, where did I put it? Let me make sure here that I have access to it in Blender. Gary's Best Cover, I'm gonna put it in the downloads because we know for sure that yeah, we're gonna move it there. Okay, so if I go downloads here, that's on Blender downloads. Okay, there we go. Where's that monstrosity, Gary?
I don't know. I'm planning to sell a bunch of copies.
Downloads. It's not giving me permission. Okay, I'm just gonna grab it here. I'm gonna drag it right here. There we go. So we no longer need Indiana Jones right there, so let's delete that. Now let's plug in this. Okay, we'll wait for it to, oh, I know what I did in Photoshop. I actually didn't give it opacity. It's invisible. Anyway, you get the point. if this, yeah, I forgot to turn on opacity and all that pink painting, that should be the one showing right here, okay? So, but we're not gonna do that. You'll be using your existing textures, all right? So I'm gonna turn this off.